The legal team for Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan is again asking for a judge to dismiss the federal charges against her.
Okay, I don't think people realize how big of a deal it's going to be if Judge Hannah Dugan wins her case for helping an illegal immigrant evade ICE. You see, Judge Hannah Dugan's argument is that she should have immunity because the president has immunity when he does official duties. I'm not making this up. We're going to go through the footage.
The legal team for Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan is again asking for a judge to dismiss the federal charges against her. Dugan is accused of helping an undocumented immigrant evade immigration agents inside the courthouse last month. In a new filing this afternoon, Dugan's attorneys cite the Supreme Court case, Trump versus the United States, which found that presidents have absolute immunity for acts committed in office. In the filing, Judge Dugan's attorneys write, quote, "Nothing in Trump's case suggests that judicial immunity is any less broad than presidential immunity." And it goes on to say a judge's official function and acts in turn are broad.
There you go. I told you guys I wasn't making this up. This judge right here is really comparing herself to a presidential case and a presidential situation of immunity. Now, generally speaking, if you do work in the federal government and you're performing your specific duty, you cannot be arrested, you cannot be charged. This is true. This is why judges are protected when they are inside of the courtroom. Now, what we're going to do, we will look at the specifics and the generalities, specifically speaking, for Judge Hannah Dugan in Wisconsin, because it's true. Her duties are very specific, but also very general as far as her being protected. But again, remember, if Judge Hannah Dugan wins this case, this means that every judge throughout the United States can do the exact same thing that Judge Hannah Dugan has done, which we've already seen on the footage. We can go through that again. This means that will now become an official act. You are allowed to stop the court hearing because you heard ICE is outside. You can tell ICE to go in another room. You can take an illegal immigrant, tell him to go the back way, and then you can leave, and then the illegal immigrant gets chased down. This could be a common occurrence now in the United States because judges will now be immune to it if Judge Hannah Dugan wins the case. Now, when it comes to the argument of the vague generalities and duties of a judge, even Wisconsin state law sort of supports this idea, because when you go to adjournment to another location, if you guys are unaware, Judge Hannah Dugan wanted to stop the case. She stopped the court hearing because she wanted to move it onto Zoom, onto the internet, away from the court area. But there are these specifics. When deemed unsafe or inexpedient by reason of war, pestilence, public calamity, those are specific, but then you have, or other compelling factors limiting or preventing access to the courthouse, the justices or judges of the court may order court to be held at an alternative location. So again, even state law says, or other compelling factors, which is pretty general as opposed to the specifics needed in order to change the location of court. So again, the law is littered with specifics and generalities, and this is really what the judge's team is arguing, that look, this is a very broad scope of what a judge can do and can't do, and because of this, I should be held immune under the generalities of the law.
Milwaukee County releasing hours of footage Wednesday showing the 6th floor of the courthouse where Judge Hannah Dugan's courtroom is located. It first shows federal agents milling about. We now know they were there to arrest Eduardo Flores Ruiz, an undocumented Mexican national charged locally with 3 counts of domestic battery. According to court documents, Judge Dugan learned of the agents' presence April 18th and confronted them in the hallway outside her courtroom. She's seen in the video directing them to the chief judge's office next door. Shortly after, most of the agents walked away. Flores Ruiz is seen leaving Dugan's courtroom.
Now, this is very crucial as far as context because this story missed it, but we do have confirmation from Pam Bondi and other DOJ sources inside of the courtroom. This man was standing there as Judge Hannah Dugan was facilitating all of the moving around in the hallway. Now, this is a big deal. This means that an illegal immigrant who allegedly committed battery or accused of committed battery, the victims are standing in there, and this judge says, you know what, I'm going to stop all of this. Hold on one second. I'm going to go out in the hallway. You can see why, contextually speaking, this doesn't look too good for Judge Hannah Dugan and why she's being accused of facilitating and helping out an illegal immigrant.
Prosecutors claim, quote, despite having been advised of the administrative warrant for the arrest of Flores Ruiz, Judge Dugan escorted Flores Ruiz and his counsel out of the, quote, jury door not open to the public. In the video, it appears one federal agent hangs back in the hallway and followed Flores Ruiz onto an elevator. The agent gets on as well. Another video shows Flores Ruiz leaving the courthouse with the agent not far behind. You then see Flores Ruiz running. Agents chased him halfway around the massive courthouse building before arresting him on 10th Street. The FBI director a week later tweeted that agents arrested Judge Dugan herself to face federal obstruction charges.
And again, at this time when the arrest happened, the footage was not released to the public. However, there are still questions as to how this footage was released to the public and why. We still don't have answers, but I think you'll find funny in this clip, even the newscasters are like, we don't even know how this happened.
Now, Nick, it's not often that we get responses to open records requests this quickly, or even when they are part of an open investigation like this one. Do we know why the county released the video?
Well, that's unclear right now, Deanna. We did, of course, make the request immediately upon learning of the incident here at the courthouse. We did ask the U.S. Attorney's Office today. They're the ones prosecuting Judge Dugan, if they signed off on the video's release or if they even knew it was being released. They responded, though, with a no comment.
Sounds like a little bit of a conspiracy to me, but I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole. Okay, so check this out. More than 130 retired judges urge federal court to drop charges against Wisconsin Judge Hannah Dugan. Here are the details. A bipartisan group of more than 130 retired judges filed a brief Friday urging a federal court to drop charges against Wisconsin Judge Hannah Dugan, saying her arrest undermines centuries of precedent on judicial immunity. Again, this is all on the judicial immunity. Okay, so the group of 138 former state and federal judges called the prosecution of Dugan, who was indicted by a grand jury earlier this month on one count each of concealing an individual to prevent arrest and obstruction, an outrageous overreach by the executive branch that threatens public trust in the judicial system and the ability of the public to avail themselves of the courthouses without fear of reprisal. Now again, if you haven't watched the footage raw, I would actually argue it the other way. For all of the American citizens who are against judges, what we can see in the footage, the facilitation and moving of ICE agents, that seems to be the bigger problem than what these other former judges are arguing.
I'm Dan O'Donnell, and for more videos like this, plus the best conservative analysis in Wisconsin, head to McIverInstitute.com. Well, for all the talk about the politics and ethics surrounding Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan's arrest, there's been shockingly little analysis of the actual charges against her.
And that is an understatement. There's almost no coverage. CNN is not talking about it. MSNBC, they talked about it for like a day. Nobody is talking about this. And make sure you guys go check out Dan O'Donnell. All credit to him. But what he's going to say is very important. It's rather interesting how Democrats pick and choose what they want to cover and not cover. But when it comes to this case, and I've been covering it for a very long time, the evidence is not in favor of the judge, especially now that we have the open footage of her actions in the courtroom, which again, remember, the FBI had to be very confident in arresting Judge Hannah Dugan if they had all this evidence.
There's a reason for that. Those charges are absolutely supported by the evidence. She knowingly violated multiple federal laws in helping an illegal immigrant criminal escape authorities carrying a valid warrant for his arrest.
Very crucial, and I don't want to keep cutting this off. There is this implication that ICE just walks around with these random Walmart receipts as a warrant. No, these are official, legit warrants. And even if the warrant is not signed off by a judge and it's signed off by an ICE officer, they still have to have validity in their case. The warrant has to match who they're going to arrest. It's not just a free-for-all. The only time it can turn into a free-for-all if they ask you in a public area, are you an illegal immigrant? And the guy says yes, or the woman, then they can arrest you. But as far as this case, it was all done legit.
According to the federal criminal complaint against Dugan, when ICE agents presented their warrant for Eduardo Flores Ruiz's arrest, she sent them away to the chief judge's office for permission to arrest him outside her courtroom. While they were gone, quote, defense counsel and Flores Ruiz then walked toward each other and toward the public courtroom exit. The courtroom deputy then saw Judge Dugan get up and heard Judge Dugan say something like, "Wait, come with me." Despite having been advised of the administrative warrant for the arrest of Flores Ruiz, Judge Dugan then escorted Flores Ruiz and his counsel out of the courtroom through the jury door.
And remember, now when Dan O'Donnell did this, he didn't have access, or we didn't have access to the public footage. And now we know in the public footage, we can literally see him walking out the private door, not accessible to the public.
Which leads to a non-public area of the courthouse. Once he was outside, Flores Ruiz tried to run away, but he was quickly chased down and arrested. Dugan now faces 2 charges, and the evidence clearly supports convictions on both. The first charge is obstruction of proceedings, which prohibits obstructing or impeding the due and proper administration of the law before any department or agency of the United States.
And again, remember, if the judge wins this case, that law means nothing. That means now Judge Hannah Dugan will be immune. This is why I keep talking about this case and keep promoting this case, because for whatever reason, people don't even know what the implications are here.
The key questions are thus this: was the service of an ICE warrant the proper administration of the law? It sure was. Did Dugan obstruct or impede that by sending the arresting officers away and then shuttling the subject of their warrant off through the back door to help him escape? She sure did.
Where Judge Hannah Dugan messed up was the intent, because according to the court documents, she was informed she was in the middle of her court hearing and she stopped. That is intent to go into the hallway. We now have the video footage. The intent here is what matters. It wasn't an accident. She didn't just stumble upon them in the hallway. It was, hold on, everybody stop what you're doing. I need to go talk to these guys, and then move them out in the back door.
And multiple witnesses confirmed that she did. She is therefore guilty under this statute and subject to a maximum sentence of 5 years in federal prison. She's also charged with concealing a person from arrest. Under this statute, it's illegal to harbor or conceal someone for whom a warrant has been issued after knowledge of the fact that a warrant has been issued.
Which, by the way, when it comes to Judge Hannah Dugan, where this is now becoming more prevalent contextually are these like nonprofits who know about illegal immigrants. They know that they have warrants for their arrest, but they are still helping them, and they're acting like, well, we don't know who they are, we don't know where they are. So this is a common occurrence in the United States right now.
In other words, did Dugan know that there was a warrant for Flores Ruiz's arrest? She did. Did she then harbor or conceal him from arrest when she distracted the arresting officers and let him escape through the jury room? She most certainly did. She is therefore guilty of this crime as well and faces an additional maximum sentence of a year in federal prison. When you strip away the politics and the outrage over Dugan's arrest, this is a remarkably straightforward, simple case.
And again, politics should have nothing to do with this. Yes, we're talking about an illegal immigrant, but even on a broader case, what if this is just an American citizen and the judge just wants to help the person out? That is why this has really nothing to do with Democrat versus Republican. I'm anti-ICE, I'm anti-deportations. This will now overlap everybody in the United States, where anyone can get affected by this, not only if you are anti-illegal immigrant or pro-illegal immigrant. This now means judges throughout the United States could have immunity for anything that Judge Hannah Dugan has done.
The statutes are clear, and her actions are unmistakably illegal. Hannah Dugan is neither a freedom fighter nor a martyr. She's a criminal, plain and simple.
All right, actually, this is the first time I've ever seen Dan O'Donnell. This was really good work, super accurate, and the reason why this is impressive, he did this without the footage. Everything he said matched up exactly with the footage, which really goes to show this is why there's plenty of evidence most likely to get Judge Hannah Dugan either put in prison, which that's the question. I don't know if they'll put her in prison, but definitely fined and definitely removed from her position as a judge. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I am not shocked that this judge is going as far as comparing comparing her case to a presidential case, but as far as the immunity argument, this is really all she has. And again, there is a little bit of the law in her favor as far as the generalities of what a judge can't do and can't do, but we also have specifics overlapping the generalities in which a judge can get arrested or in trouble as far as Judge Hannah Dugan is concerned. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thank you for being here. God bless, and we'll see you all later.